Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, the very much loved game on the 3DS in 2012 that served as one of the final chapters for Kingdom Hearts 3, came and introduced a few different mechanics for gameplay and story. One of them was Flowmotion, a mechanic that allows you to interact with the environment either for traversing a world or fighting enemies. Heck, some enemies can have Flowmotion be done directly on them. What's up guys, it's me Low Bomber, and today I have a different kind of video that I really haven't done before, but for this video I was inspired by both Nathaniel Brady and Sir Skyward. They both have done a run for a game with removing a core mechanic to see if it is possible to beat said game without mechanic. For Sir Skyward, he had played through Kingdom Hearts 2 without jumping, and Nathaniel Brady is very much known for playing through Sonic games or Nintendo games while removing a core mechanic. And that's exactly what we're going to do for this run. I will be attempting to see if I can beat Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance without using Flowmotion. So during this run, I must take off any and all Flowmotion abilities to make sure I reduce the chances of using Flowmotion moves, even with something as simple as walking on a rail. This won't disable Flowmotion entirely, as air sliding and dodge rolling into a wall will still activate it. If I activate Flowmotion, I need to either die or perform a soft reset on the game and start my last save over. Walking on a trampoline or something that activates something like Super Jump is fine, as I am not directly starting Flowmotion, but I cannot do anything until I hit the ground and the Flowmotion aura is gone. Using the Dreamlink reality shift is also fine, so long as I don't do anything else like jumping or attacking. So I need to see if I can get through the entirety of the game without using Flowmotion once as both Sora and Riku. I decided to play on beginner, as Dream Drop Distance harder difficulties are bad enough without these restrictions, and I decided to carry over my spirits, and you'll see why soon. And with that, let's start this run. Can I beat Dream Drop Distance without using Flowmotion? The first thing we do in this run is fight Ursula, and there are no walls or anything to jump off of or interact with. I just fought her normally. After diving into Traverse Town as Sora and fighting Dream Eaters and making my first Dream Eater, I immediately disabled the Flowmotion abilities, and I also put in my Ryu Dragon into the party and immediately got him 10 link points so that I can have access to Super Glide, as that will serve as my substitute for moving through worlds as fast as Sora. Now I need to actually dive in as Riku. Now, Riku is a little bit more tedious to play as in this run, as he doesn't have moves like Super Glide, and I'm refraining from using Cartwheel often or getting Dark Roll, as I might accidentally hit a wall and activate Flowmotion. And this was actually a big problem for my entire run, as I needed to stop myself from using Flowmotion to travel and fight, as I normally incorporate them regularly in Dream Drop Distance. As Riku, take out the first bunch of enemies, and I'm back as Sora. Now, even though dodge rolling into walls will still activate Flowmotion, stepping onto rails with the abilities turned off doesn't do that, so I now know that I don't have to worry about accidentally stepping onto a rail and accidentally triggering Flowmotion. Now, in the 4th district, I knew I wanted to get to the top of this building, as there's a chest with balloon, and we all know it's a pretty useful move in Dream Drop Distance. Now, normally what you're supposed to do is rail grind the string of lights to get to where you need to go, but I can't do that in this run. At first I tried jumping on the lights, but they aren't wide enough for me to walk on, but it was an easy fix for me, at least for Sora. Just simply super glide over and climb up. Then I met with Rhyme and fought the Hoko Monkey. The fight wasn't too bad, I just needed to rely on balloon and linking with my Ryu Dragon. And while still playing as Sora, I actually made my way to Licita des Cloches, and everything seemed to go alright. I was also stopping myself from using reality shift in this world, as that wouldn't help a whole lot in my opinion. Everything was going smooth until I hit the part where you have to beat those flower Dream Eaters to progress. See, they actually cause a lot of damage, and at that point I realized until I get cure for a lot of these fights, I might have to just bite the bullet, as I can't rely on Flowmotion to quickly get away from danger. I even accidentally used Flowmotion a few times and was forced to use a soft reset. Eventually, while in the catacombs, getting to the Court of Miracles, I hit this part that honestly stumped me for a little bit. See, what you're normally supposed to do here is either use Flowmotion to get to the ledge or use the Dreamline reality shift, but I'm refraining from using the Dreamline and I can't use Flowmotion. And I need to get up there because there's this machine that you need to destroy that is oozing out this purple liquid that will make you drop faster. At first I tried super gliding, but it didn't work, and I tried sliding dash over there, but that also didn't work. I had an idea, but I first wanted to drop back to Riku and do some progress with him. As Riku, I saved Shiki and made my way to the back streets, and I gotta say, traversing through that place was fine, but it was a little weird seeing Riku run in this segment, as you're normally supposed to activate Rail Slide, and I also needed to make sure I didn't cartwheel, as that would activate Flowmotion. Then I made my way to the 4th district. I couldn't remember what was in this chest at the top of the building for Riku, but I figured it was important, except I can't use Super Glide to get over there. I tried dashing, but it was too risky and too far. But then I had an idea of using Sliding Dash, and lo and behold, now I know for gaps of a certain distance, for Riku, I can simply use Sliding Dash to clear the gap. After that, I just needed to beat the Hoko Monkey as Riku, and now the first visit to Traverse Town is complete. After that, I dived to Lucida Disclochus as Riku. Getting through the world was pretty easy, but it did take a while since I needed to take my steps very carefully, as when I was outrunning the Wargoyle, I wanted to make sure I didn't activate Flowmotion by cartwheeling. Fighting the Wargoyle was honestly no sweat either. Then I switched over to Sora and decided to leave Lucida Disclochus and make my way to Pranks' Paradise. The reason why I'm going to this world is because this is where you get high jump, which will make platforming easier. After clearing Pranks' Paradise, and honestly beating the Chillclopser wasn't that bad, considering I wouldn't use Flowmotion for that fight anyway, I made my way back to Lucida Disclochus, and I was easily able to clear platform sections, and there was no issue. Next was the grid. Now, this was another world that seems to be pretty heavy on Flowmotion, but mainly with the rail sliding, and that was turned off, so it really wasn't that bad. There was a nasty little section for this world that would pose a slight problem. See this hill? Well, you're supposed to use Rail Slide to get up to the top of that, which is required to progress as both Sora and Riku. However, playing as Sora, I simply super glided my way up the hill, and there was no issue. Finishing the grid, I now have to finish the last 2 worlds as Riku. I drop back as Riku and continue on to Pranks' Paradise, which wasn't too bad since I could still launch myself off those things in Montro's stomach to gain height, so long as I didn't do anything else, but I needed to walk carefully on this rail so I didn't fall off. Fighting the boss of Pranks' Paradise as Riku was honestly a challenge, as I couldn't rely on Flowmotion to quickly hit the enemy if he was running away or if he was above me, but I got him. After that, I moved to the grid. Now, I came across the same hill that I used Super Glide on, but now I have to clear it as Riku, who does not have Super Glide. I tried jumping and using Sliding Dash, but there was no avail. At first, I thought the run was over, but then I decided to try one last thing. For this, I needed Komori-Bat and Meow Wow. I decided to use a dual link to activate Rising Wing, which is a link style that gives Riku wings and lets him glide or float in the air. And with that, I was able to clear that hill as easily as Super Glide with Sora. After that, the rest of the grid was pretty easy. After that, it's time to revisit Traverse Town. For Riku, there was absolutely no issue, just beat some enemies and you're good. As Sora, I had to tread that world carefully. As for Sora's second visit to Traverse Town, you have to fight 3 bosses in 3rd district, and I felt like I was forced to not dodge roll or air slide, as I might run into a pole or a wall, but I was able to beat it eventually. After that, it was a matter of hitting the last 2 Disney worlds and then the world that never was. While playing as Sora, I actually was curious about something, so I headed over to Symphony of Sorcery first. Progressing through the world wasn't too bad because, you know, Super Glide for the win, but unfortunately, we hit what seems to be a dead end now with the Spellican fight. See, the fight always starts with you in Flowmotion. There's nothing you can do about that. Now, while that on its own wouldn't take me out of the fight, you normally need to keep charging at the Spellican to catch him and bring the fight to neutral ground, but I can't do that. I actually had an idea I thought that might work. See, my brother had actually discovered this trick on the original 3DS version. If you time pressing the jump button fast enough, you can actually jump from the rail and use Super Glide to catch up with the boss. But now I have to hit him, and unfortunately, I couldn't hit him when I did that. Sora descends to the ground too quickly when using Glide, so whenever I let go of the Glide button, I was automatically put into Flowmotion, and because of the way that Osaka team designed this game, I wouldn't be able to attack while using Glide, and I would also have to wait for a couple seconds after finishing Glide in order to attack. So I decided simply not pressing anything and using attack when I caught up to the Spellican. However, this unfortunately does mean that Dreamed Up Distance is not possible to beat without Flowmotion, but let's actually keep going to see if we can beat the rest of the game without Flowmotion. After beating the Spelican, I made my way to the country of Musketeers, and that was an easy world to do without Flowmotion. Next, I needed to drop as Riku and make my way to Symphony of Sorcery. It wasn't too bad. The only hiccup was actually coming across this large gap that you're supposed to rail slide on and get across, but I worked my way around that by using Rising Wing. Next, onto Country of Musketeers. Chasing after the Beagle Boys seemed simple enough until I hit this part. What you're supposed to do is pulse spin on this thing, and it's required to not only expose one of the Beagle Boys, but also open the path to the other two. So I had no choice but to use pulse spin, meaning that this world was also unbeatable without Flowmotion. But let's see if we can beat the game with only these two world exceptions. First, the world that never was for Riku. Everything was seemingly okay. I was careful not to cartwheel as everything was in a tight space unless necessary or safe, but then I hit another roadblock. See, to get to the stage to fight the anti-Black Coat Nightmare and progress the story, you need to use rail slide up this wall to get to it, but I actually found a way around it. I decided to use the Rising Wing height trick. Basically, what you need to do is activate Rising Wing and you need to jump, and every time you jump you need to air slide, and you will be in a fixed position that is higher. Then you can jump again and air slide again. Rinse and repeat with some elixirs along the way to replenish my spirit's link gauge, and I was able to clear this. Now, I actually got scared again at this section as you need to rail slide up this rail in order to get to the actual stage, and I couldn't air dash in the tight box as I would activate Flowmotion, so instead of air dashing I simply attacked, and I was still able to perform the height trick. I proceeded to beat Anti-Black Coat Nightmare, and now I was fighting Ansem. Ansem's first fight wasn't too bad without Flowmotion, but his second fight is where I faced an issue. During his DM, he sends you back and throws dark energy at you, and normally I use Flowmotion to jump off those walls and dodge, but instead I was forced to either cartwheel or take the damage, but I was eventually able to beat Ansem. Now I needed to drop and play as Sora. The world that never was for Sora wasn't too bad. Instead of spamming wall jumping, I needed to progress my way through the world by using the path that the game developers had intended. And the fight with Xemnas wasn't too bad either. I just needed to make sure that I didn't dash towards his lightning walls, as that would activate Flowmotion. I then proceeded to endgame for Riku. Fighting young Xehanort without Flowmotion wasn't too bad either, because that's not too bad of a handicap for me, as I don't normally use Flowmotion in that fight anyway. And lastly, there was a fight with the Armored Ventus Nightmare. The only change I needed to make for this was wall jumping to avoid his dark balls when he makes the stage white, so I instead needed to just take the damage, but with that the run was complete. So this run was actually a lot of fun. If we count Traverse Town twice, there are 8 total world visits for both Sora and Riku, and out of all of them, only 1 was impossible for Sora and only 1 was impossible for Riku, meaning that out of the 16 world visits, 14 of them could be beaten without Flowmotion and only 2 require it. This was definitely a run that helped me appreciate the lengths that the developers went through with the crazy level designs, and also how they shot themselves in the foot as Flowmotion bypasses most, if not all of it. Best part for me in this run was actually doing the height trick for Riku in the world that never was, as it made me wish even more that those instances in the Symphony of Sorcery for Sora and Country Musketeers for Riku didn't happen. But overall, you cannot beat Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance without Flowmotion. This was definitely a fun video to make, and I'm thinking about doing other videos like this, so if you have any ideas for me to beat a Kingdom Hearts game without something in particular, please leave it in the comment section below, and I definitely have some other ideas in mind for other Cage games, and I cannot wait to do them. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out my Twitter and my Twitch. Check out my Discord in the description below. This has been Noir Low Bomber, and I'm out.